Okay, good morning and good afternoon. Again, welcome to the Washington Policy Polls. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Again, my name is Nathan Dean. I'm a senior policy analyst with Bloomberg Intelligence. And if you ever wonder why I keep repeating that all the time, it's because we do put these calls out on the terminal and sometimes we get new subscribers. I know for many of the people that I see, you come every week, so thank you very much for that. What I want to do today is just take you through, again, sort of the tax reform and the tariffs discussions, just because I know it's getting kind of cumbersome, that we consistently talk about that, but those are the key things that are happening in Washington. And the good thing that I have to report today is we actually are going to have some more substantial catalyst events happening in Washington as soon as this week. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the Trump era tax cuts and the extension process that the Republicans are going to go through. So, as you all know, the Republicans are trying to extend the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. They are trying to do this via reconciliation. This is the process that bypasses the Democratic filibuster. Now, in order to do that, we've talked about the different resolution instructions that the Senate has and the House has. The House is going to start their markups this week. There's three of them: House Armed Services Committee, Judiciary, the House Financial Services Committee is also discussing this. None of the big ticket items that we really care about. Obviously, there are some things we care about in these committees. The big one that we're also looking at is the House Ways and Means Committee. And what I've heard is that they're earmarking May 12th or May 13th for that markup. That is the one where if you have questions on the SALT deduction, since we're here in New York City, again, the current thinking is $25,000 to $30,000. I know many of you care about that, but also things like corporate tax rate, or for President Trump when he says last night on Air Force One that he's going to actually constitute or implement additional tax cuts for individuals that are under 200,000, making $200,000 in terms of household income, or no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. That's going to come in the House Ways and Means Committee. But before that, just a couple of highlights. The one thing that I would just call out, if you have exposure to the defense industry space, the House Armed Services Committee, their markup had additional money, about $25 billion for this idea of a Golden Dome. This is the U.S. version of the Israeli Iron Dome. Also, there was a lot of ships and additional equipment to be, advocated in this. I actually sent it off to our defense analyst, Wayne Sanders. If you don't know Wayne, he sits with me down in Washington. He's our new defense analyst. I sent it off to him, and he's like, wow, they're sending lots of love for the shipping industry at the moment. So if you have exposure to the defense industry, definitely contact us. I'll put you in touch with Wayne and so forth. So where the Republicans are trying to go with this is they want everything wrapped up by Memorial Day. I just don't think they're going to get there. I don't think many people in Washington do, but I will say this: the momentum is on the Republican side. And because the debt ceiling, as you've heard me say before, the debt ceiling is in this late July, August timeframe. The idea here is something is going to have to get done. Now, the big question is, what cuts are they going to make in order to entice and to get these additional tax extensions? We've talked about Inflation Reduction Act. We talked about SNAP. We've talked about Medicaid. And you've also heard that my overall thesis is that I don't think there's going to be many cuts in those areas, and that from a material standpoint, generally speaking, I think when the solution is ultimately found, it's going to be an increase in the deficit rather than a cut to those programs. And I still believe that's going to be the case. But Bloomberg News did have some reporting over the weekend that they are now going to cut, or at least try and cut, certain aspects of these programs. For SNAP benefits in particular, they're going to be looking at waste, work requirements, and so forth. The House Ag Committee estimates that this would be probably around $13 billion a year, $130 billion over 10 years. Gets you somewhere closer to that $230 billion timeframe that they're looking for. It doesn't get you all the way, though. They're also looking at potentially delaying some of these Medicaid cuts or these SNAP benefit cuts until after the election or after even the presidential election, so that some of the Republican states that support the president wouldn't be so much impacted by these cuts, at least initially, until after the election. But again, that's going to be a very hard idea to get with some of these Republicans on the moderate side who do not want to see these benefits cut, because once you put something in place, as you know, it's going to be extremely difficult for Congress to come back and fix it at a later date. If you remember the sequester debates from a couple years ago, that's exactly where I'm going at. So last thing I want to talk about is in terms of the House Financial Services Committee. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be looking to try and cut from the budget of the PCAOB, the Public Company Oversight Accounting Board. For some reason in Washington they call it peekaboo, but it's the PCAOB. And then separately they're going to be looking at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. If you remember, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is outside of the appropriations process, gets some money from the Fed, but the Republicans can come in and say, look, we're going to cap the amount of money that can come from the Fed. Currently, it's about a 12% ask. The Republicans want to get it down to about a 5% ask. So just really, I don't think much we're going to see a lot of things happen over the next couple of weeks. So definitely stay close. And if you have any individual questions on some of the committees that you're looking at, please let me know. On tariffs, long story short on tariffs, or the short story long, I should say, is that Bloomberg News reported over the weekend that President Trump is looking at announcing trade deals in 3 to 4 weeks. But as you know, the market doesn't really want to wait 3 to 4 weeks. So look for Secretary Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, to come out sometime. He was even just talking about this morning, saying that a trade deal with India could be released as early as this week or next week. But look for the Treasury Secretary to come out and start discussing, or at least announcing, what I'm calling memorandums of understanding when it comes to these trade deals. Think of bullet pages of 3 to 4 pages, not the specifics, but the idea that we're getting there. Because I think obviously, if many of you who trade money are much closer to the market than I am, but you understand that obviously they want some type of response from Washington. So look for that. They come out some probably at the end of this week, beginning of next week. I also want to showcase something that we've been really proud to announce over here at the Bloomberg Intelligence piece, and that is our new and enhanced tariff tracking, what we call the U.S. tariff impact matrix. So as you can see here, what this is, and I just apologize, I need to, for the recording, if you are watching this on the recording and you don't see the impact matrix, just give me a call. I'll put a link into it as well. But for those of you who are on the screen right now, what you can see here is we have taken, and we being the equity analysts and most of the analysts at Bloomberg Intelligence who are working on the tariff work, have listed up by company and then specifically tried to estimate the blended tariff rate, the hikes that they're estimated, global price hikes to actually meet these tariffs, consensus, revenue, number percentage of sales in the United States. You get where I'm going with this. So it's allowing our clients to actually drill deeper, specifically company by company, and trying to understand what is actually happening in terms of these tariffs. So, obviously this tool is available for those of you on the Bloomberg terminal. If you have any questions on it, please just let me know, and we'll go ahead and get that to you. But I'm going to stop my share and come back to myself. The last thing I'd say on the tariffs is, look for the end of this week for a Senate resolution to come forth. This is from the Democrats in the Senate, and also with Senator Rand Paul. They're pushing a resolution to overturn the president's authority on these tariffs. Just a few minutes ago, the White House issued a veto threat. The House is not going to take up this resolution if it passes, and I do think it will pass, but the House is not going to take it up. And then separately, it's not going to get anywhere close to that veto-proof majority that you would need to overcome the president's veto. This is the similar story that we talked about a couple of weeks ago when Senator Grassley and Senator Cantwell put out their legislation trying to claw back the presidential authority. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's certainly interesting to just keep in the back of your mind. A couple other things to talk about. This week, it marks the 100th anniversary, the 100-day anniversary, not the 100th anniversary, although it sort of feels like that, the 100-day anniversary of President Trump's first term. So on Thursday, the Bloomberg Intelligence Litigation and Policy Team is going to have a webinar that will actually discuss what we've seen over the last couple of 100 days, or not couple, but over the last 100 days, and what we're going to see in the future. So if you want access to that, let me go ahead and put that into the chat right now as we speak. It's open to all. If you don't have a terminal, you can still come and join us. But let me go ahead. Apologies. Let me just give me 1 second. I should have had this done in advance. But if you want to join this, you're more than welcome. We are going to be taking a lot of questions on that. And so just give me 1 second. I have the on-terminal link, but I do not have the off-terminal link. So let me just go ahead, and I know my colleague Elliot Stein, who is sitting right behind me, we were actually joking before the call that we could have a good little game of Inception here, because just you can see the call and so forth. Elliot sent me the link, so let me just go ahead and get that to you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat right now. So you should have it now. If you would like to access that webinar, feel free. It's 11 a.m. on Thursday. open to all. And again, if you have questions, feel free to put questions into the Q&A function of the Zoom, and be happy to take those. But just generally speaking, what do I think of President Trump's first 100 days? Well, it goes back to this idea of executive orders, legislation, and deregulation. Each one of those processes have the amount of time and differences and so forth like that. And President Trump has certainly weighed heavily on the executive order piece, as we anticipated, when it comes to immigration, tariffs, and drill baby drill. But again, the really hot topic items besides tariff, obviously I'm not going to call tariffs not a hot topic, but for a lot of the other stuff, legislation and deregulation, that's again going to come later this year. And then finally, some small minor things I want to just mention. The race to replace Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois as the Democratic whip is going on. Senator Durbin announced that he is going to retire from Congress at the end of 2026. As you may know, he's the Democratic whip. He's the #2 member of the Democratic Party. Generally speaking, it looks like Senator Brian Schatz from Hawaii is going to be filling that void. Senator Booker from New Jersey was a potential candidate, but Senator Booker was reported as saying over the weekend that he's actually going to defer to Senator Schatz on this. I think Senator Booker is obviously trying for a higher position, but we'll see on that. So the last couple of things is the appropriations. Generally speaking, by now, the president should be working on releasing his budget, and that is the kickoff for the appropriations process that ends with the government funding fight that we're going to see in September. There's been no indication that I've seen that the White House is actually in a hurry to do that, and as a result, you're not seeing a lot of the appropriations work that is started by now. What that means to me is that most likely in September, you are going to see another continuing resolution, and this is where I'm telling my clients that I do think the significant shutdown, could occur during this time frame. So just as a heads up, there was a complaint over the weekend from a couple of lawmakers that they haven't been able to start the appropriations process in earnest. So just keep that in mind. And then the last thing that's going on this week is several votes on the CRA. This is the Congressional Review Act. This allows Congress to actually overturn any type of regulation. The reason why I bring this up is they have until essentially May 6th to pass any more CRA resolutions. So any rulemaking that's been passed within the last, 60 legislative days, May 6th is that deadline. The only rule that I think that's coming up for a vote this week that I would be worth calling about is there is a rule that will allow California to enhance additional emission standards for trucks. That most likely will get overturned. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for your time and your patience. Sorry about the little technical difficulties, but if there's anything I can do in the interim, please just don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you have a wonderful week and take care.